Well, good morning, folks. Today on the Housing Nerd channel, we're reviewing the latest Zillow price forecast data. And I'm seeing major warning signs depending on if you want the housing market to crash or you don't want it to crash. And also, depending on where you live. So, what we're going to do this morning is we're looking at this map from Resi Club, and we're going to look at different markets and kind of see what Zillow thinks will happen to home prices over the next 12 months. Now, important to know that they've revised their forecast several times. Obviously, as the market shifts, as the economy changes, as they see the numbers change, they are updating their forecast. So at one point, they were actually expecting the United States to decline in home prices over the next 12 months. But that has changed, and you're going to see that in a minute. But we're going to look at some markets like Columbus, where I live, or near where I live. They say, according to Zillow, home prices are going to increase 1.7% between now and next August. You tell me what you think about that. Is that correct? And I'm curious, as we go through these metros, what you think of this Zillow data. And put your metro, your city in the comments below. I'm not reviewing counties today. I'm reviewing metros because that's the data that Zillow is giving us. So here's Columbus, 1.7% prediction in home price growth. If you look throughout the country, there's not a lot of red anymore. There are a few areas, and there are a lot of areas that are going to decline according to Zillow, but I'm not seeing a lot of red. I'm seeing a lot more price growth according to Zillow. So like Orlando's saying they're going to grow 0.5%, Miami 1.5%. I go up in the Northeast into New York, they say it's going to grow 0.7% home prices. Milwaukee, you could see 1.2%. So we're going to look at this. Then we're also going to look at this map, which is pretty cool. This is an inventory map. So this shows us the active inventory and how it's changed over the past year and also the last 5 years. So for instance, in Columbus, you can see that we have had inventory growth of 30% more homes for sale in Columbus. And it actually, this is Resi Club's data. It's fantastic information, by the way. You really can't beat it. How Lance does this from Resi Club. But we're going to jump into like how many homes are actually for sale now versus the last several years, going all the way back to 2017 in some of these markets. And then we're also going to look at how they compare to pre-pandemic levels of inventory, because there's a narrative out there, no doubt, that's telling us, for some reason, I can't figure out how they're getting this data, but I've heard YouTubers recently who are like dying for a housing market crash. They're like, hey, we have more homes for sale than we do right now. We have more homes for sale right now than we did pre-pandemic. So we're going to look at some of these areas and find out if that's true or not, and let the data tell the story instead of just guessing, right? And then we're also, I'm also going to have this ready at my disposal, which is the change in home prices. This is another home price map. This isn't a forecast. This is the actual data. So in Columbus, we're actually up 1.4% year over year in home prices. You can see in the last 6 years, 54%. So bottom line is I've got a ton of data, a ton of maps to review with you guys today. And yeah, I think you'll find it very, very informative, hopefully anyway. And good morning, everybody. I'm going to show this comment here. ML, I think you were on before I was on today, so thank you. Yeah, how's the market looking in green and Christian counties in Missouri? So give me some cities, ML. I don't have the county data. I'm not pulling that up right now. So give me the cities, and I'll the closest city that you can to where you are, and I'll hopefully Zillow. I keep saying Redfin, but Zillow will have it. Zillow will revise their false reports as standard practice. Zillow is a realtor site. They do own, I mean, they own properties. I don't know if they still own properties or not, but they, and thanks, Mark, for joining us today. I mean, it's the data we have, right? So is it false? Is it cooked? Are the books cooked? I don't know. I mean, Nick from Reventure Consulting uses Zillow data. Folks like Melody Wright use Redfin data. So, you've got housing experts that are bigger experts than I am using that same data. So that's why I'm using it. One of the reasons why I use both Zillow and Redfin, because Melody uses Redfin. Nick at Reventure uses Zillow's estimates. That's all his app is, really, is estimates. And a lot of people don't like Zestimates, right? But it is the data we have. So if you have an area you want me to review, Mark, put it in the comments. But I definitely appreciate you joining us. I got Springfield, Missouri from ML. No problem. I'll tag that one. What else I got? I love these. Yeah, yep, it's all cooked. Yeah, I mean, that's the data we're going to review today. I don't work for Zillow, so I'm just going to provide you what I see. And, one of the things I'm wondering about is if the market does severely change, like if we see massive home price declines, if you're somebody who thinks the books are cooked, Zillow data is false, it's all fraud, greed, and corruption. If you think that, if the market turns, or by a lot of people's prediction, when it actually does crash and burn, will you then think the data is still cooked if the data is showing massive declines? Like if I was showing the data today, and we're going to look at it in a minute, and there's a city that's down, is the data still cooked? Or is it only cooked if the data is going the different way than what you may want? I'm just asking. Like personally for me, I could care less. Like I look at this data and I'm like, hey, I want to provide a value. I don't care if the market is going up in an area, down in an area, sideways in an area. Like it's really not, I can't do anything about it. And so I don't care, but I'm just reporting the data. And it's all we have right now. So Real Estate Mindset was showing a highly revised Fed graphs the other day. Yeah, I know. And like he's fixated on that. And Travis, I mean, that dude puts in work. I respect the guy a lot. I respect him and Melody and everything they've done, especially their boots on the ground stuff. I just think that they want to crash so bad that they skew their narrative that way, almost like an opposite way of like a cheerleading realtor. I'm just telling you straight up, I don't care. I mean, if the housing market crashes, it's not my fault, and I certainly can't do anything about it. So I'm just going to report on what I see, what's going on. I'm a realtor. I'm an investor. I see it on the ground level. Everything's hyper local in real estate. If you think the market's crashing right now or the books are cooked, go out and make an offer and find a deal. I mean, the proof's in the numbers. The proof's in what you do in the market. Really, at the end of the day, this is just kind of a guide, right? Like a broad brush stroke. Anyway, let's get to the data. But good morning to everybody. But man, Travis, man, that dude puts in work. That guy and Mitch and Melody, man, they work. And mad respect to them. All right, let's jump into it. See what we got. Let's do your Missouri. And give me a thumbs up, by the way, if you're joining us. That's the least you can do. That's the only price of admission today. The only price. So you asked about, let me go back here for a second. Ozark, MO would be interesting. I see this one, but you actually asked Springfield, Missouri. Springfield, Missouri. All right, ML, let's look at Springfield, Missouri. Springfield. You think I would know where that is, but I don't. I'm getting better at geography, though, after doing all this. Springfield, Missouri. According to Zillow, home price growth, they say home prices are going to grow 2.3%. That's what they're saying. Now, let's look at inventory, though. Let's look at inventory and see what they say. And you know what? Let's look at prices next, as far as like what it's actually done there. And this is according to Zillow data. Springfield, Missouri. This is the actual. So they say it's going to grow 2.3%. We know that. But let's look at the prices and see what they're going to do. Shift since the peak in 2022. That doesn't really help us because it's up. So forget this. Forget this line right here. The 1 year change, you're up 0.9%. So you're not even up 1% in Springfield, Missouri. The 2 year change up 3.3%. The 3 year change, prices are up 6.1%. The 4 year change, 24.5%. 5 year change, 48.5%. And 6 year change, 59%. You guys can read. I don't know why I'm reading all these to you. But I mean, look at this. Like the 6 year change, that means home prices have grown 10% a year approximately, right? Over the last 6 years. Active inventory for sale, 1,707. We'll look at inventory more in a second. This is kind of cool. He added this. Inventory in August 2025 compared to 2019. You're up 3.6%. So here's an area in Missouri where Zillow says home prices are going to grow 2.3% over the next 12 months. You have a little more inventory than you did in 2019. So that's good. You're above pre-pandemic levels. That's good information to have, right? Now you know, all right, inventory overall is up more than you were back pre-COVID. Let's look a little bit more, though, at inventory and see what we can find. So let's do, this is Springfield, right? And I'll get to the Ozarks here in a minute. Springfield, Missouri, inventory compared to pre-pandemic, up 3.6%. We know that. Year over year shift. So you're up 20% in the number of homes for sale year over year. 20.1% to be exact. Let's look historically at the number of homes for sale. Let's see what's been going on. So back in 2017, August of 2017, you had 2,181 homes on the market. But that number started to drop. And what I'm seeing throughout the US, folks, I'm seeing this all the time. Like almost every market's like this. With the exception of like insane inventory growth markets like Austin or Florida, or, you know, like even maybe probably San Francisco. But if you look at most markets, you're seeing inventory numbers fall. They were falling in 2017, 2018, and 2019. I know it's happening. It happened in Ohio where we had house with the, you know, the number of houses for sale was declining before the pandemic. It was almost like, I don't know, like and the prices were accelerating obviously before the pandemic. So overall, so you were losing inventory before the pandemic, but then look what happened. 2021 pandemic hit 661 homes for sale compared to 2,181 back in 2017. So Springfield, man, I mean, you got wrecked in inventory. Then it started to build, obviously, right? And now you're back above pre-pandemic levels. See that 2019 level, 1,647, now 1,707. So above pre-pandemic levels. That's good if you want lower prices. Again, the weird thing is Zillow's saying, we'll just go back to this forecast for a second. And if you have a metro you want me to look at, put it in the comments if you're joining us now, even if it's on the replay, and I'll try to get to it on the next housing or video. But again, going back to the forecast, they're saying home prices are going to grow 2.3%. So you're only up 0.9 now. We looked at that on the prices. Inventory is growing. Are you going to grow 2.3%? I mean, let's be honest, like a 2.3% growth would be probably a welcome sign, given the fact that you've averaged 10% over the last 6 years. So, I mean, that's cooling. 2% growth in home prices is like par for the course. Like, that's not a big deal. Annual growth. But I hope that helped, ML. Hope that gave you some insight there. Let's let me look. You also asked for Ozark, right? I don't know where that is. I should, but I'm stupid. So I'm stupid about the geography in Missouri. Is it Branson? Is that where I should look? Well, I just looked at Springfield, right? That's in the Ozarks, right? It says Ozark is what I'm looking at on Google Maps. And I see Branson. I could look at Branson real quick. There's Branson, Missouri. 12-month home price forecast 1.4% up year over year. That's what Zillow's saying is going to happen. Let me look at the actual price growth that you've seen in Branson. Look at this. You want an area where prices are falling? Check this out. Um, Down 1.5%. 1 year change in home prices. 2 year change down 3%. 3 year change down 1.6%. 4 year change 18% up. 5 year change 43. 6 year change 54. So if you bought 6 years ago, 7 years ago, you're up a lot, right? Up 54% in your home prices on average with Zillow data. But if you bought just 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I guess 3 years ago, right? You're flat or you're down in your home price on average. I'm not saying it's every situation, but you're actually down. And this is where the peak comes in, right? You can look at the peak here, 2022 peak. That's when home prices actually peaked in a lot of markets in 2022. That's why Lance at Resi Club puts this in. You're down 2.7% from that peak. So it looks like prices are declining there at this point right now. And the weird thing is, and this is why I want to show you what Zillow thinks. Zillow thinks, again, you're going to be up 1.4% in Branson. I don't know how that is when prices are falling right now. Now, let's look at inventory. That'll really tell us what's happening. Let's look at inventory. Branson, Missouri inventory. What do I got? Inventory compared to pre-pandemic levels up 17%. And you're up 17% year over year. So I scratch my head and go, how can, like, if they have an algorithm, obviously, to come up with the forecast. But your home price, your home prices are declining right now in Branson, and inventory is 17% higher than pre-pandemic levels. Now, the key is, what kind of inventory is that? Like what I'm seeing here in Columbus and in Ohio, like something, when I just ran it, it was like 35% of the listings in the state of Ohio were built before 1930. 1930, meaning of all the inventory on the market, a ton of it, a third of it is like really old. And a good portion of that is like abandoned or houses that need complete rehabs. So I don't know what your inventory looks like in Branson or Springfield, but if you have a gain in inventory, you got to look and see what kind of inventory that is. And to do that, you're going to have to get hyper local with, like, obviously you can use Zillow, or you can use an MLS if you have access to it, or a realtor could give you, MLS data. But look at the inventory. Like, you had 874 in 2017. See what I mean? It was declining. And then it dropped. Look at where it dropped. 249 listings at one point. Now back to 884. So inventory is growing. Good. Good. You should see lower prices there, I would think. I'm not sure I would agree with Zillow's forecast there. See, I'm not a cheerleading realtor. I'm not going to, I'm not, again, nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to report it. Like, it's not going to make or break my day either way. I'm going to be fine. If realtors do their job, they're going to be fine in the housing market. They're not going to, it doesn't matter. By the way, if prices go down for realtors, that helps. It helps more inventory helps, more churn helps, more people buying and selling helps me. It's been more difficult for a lot of realtors over the past year because there hasn't been any sales last couple of years. But if we see lower home prices, we'll see probably more sales. And that's good for most realtors, most title agents, appraisers, all that jazz. So let's go back to the forecast real quick and see if somebody else has one. That was good, ML. Thanks. I never look at Missouri, so that was cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see. No way for Missouri. I don't know. Sam Bernardo. How does he say it in that movie, Fletch? Sam Bernardo. I think that's how he says it. San Bernardino County. Awesome. Let's go there and check that out. I can't do the county AA1AA, but I can do that area. Well, I can do Riverside County or Riverside, California. And that's near San Bernardino, right? It's about the same area, isn't it? If I remember right. 12-month home price forecast up 1%. So they're saying, hey, Branson is going to grow more than Riverside, California. Well, I don't know. I know Branson's like a hot area. And maybe the home price growth in Branson will come from, in people scooping up homes that are at a discount. I don't know. But anyway, we're talking about Riverside. So let's do Riverside. We know Zillow says 1% up year over year. Now let's do the actual prices. There we go. Prices. So since the peak in 2022, you're down in Riverside, California, down 0.3%. 1 year change down 2.5%. So year over year, you are down in Riverside. The 2-year change 1.9, 3-year change 1.4, 4-year change 15%, 43, and 52. So again, just like we saw with Springfield, Branson, Missouri, if you bought 6 years ago, 7 years ago, home prices, you're probably doing pretty good still, right? You got 52%, which is under 10% a year in growth. This number, by the way, is changing in a lot of markets where you're seeing, even though it's 52% still, you're seeing that growth over the last 6 years compress because home prices are not growing like they were, obviously, back in this period of time. Like, look at this year right here. This is nuts. 15% and 43%. So between year 4, which would have been 2020, I guess it'd have been 2020 to 2021, home prices grew nearly 30% in that 1 year in Riverside, California. Wow. Yeah, 30%. But then look, the changes have not been that big since then. And certainly now they're going down. So, everybody, it's like the great financial crisis. Everybody thinks home prices like went way down everywhere, and they didn't. A lot of areas, actually, some areas went up during the great financial crisis, during the housing crash, right? So it's not, you really got to look at these details and, get a broad look at it and go, wow, up 52%, but that 1 year really changed home prices. It's not like it's continuing to go up, obviously. Now let's look at some inventory and see what's going on. Inventory. You are down still 6.6%. Oh, that's Ontario. Oh, that's how they're doing it. Okay, I got it. My bad. By the way, the inventory data is realtor.com data because Zillow doesn't provide inventory data like this. So Lance at Resi Club Analytics will use realtor.com data for the inventory. I think a lot of other people do too. But inventory, nonetheless, you're still down compared to 2019 levels, down 6.6%. You're up 30% year over year. So that's good. You added a lot more inventory in the last year. Look at the details, though. Back in 2017, you had 13,696 homes. You actually went up from 2017 to 2018, got to 15,000. Then you went to 14,000, then 6,000. And that's kind of the bottom at 6,000, it looks like. And then you went up a lot from 2021 to 2022. Look at that. You added 4,000 homes. That was an explosion of inventory. Holy Toledo. And then you went down to 7,600 units, then up to 10,000, then up to 13,000. So this 1 year, though, 2021 to 2022, Y'all added a ton of inventory. I mean, that's and that it looks like, I mean, again, a lot of areas peaked in 2022 with home prices because and they haven't recovered since 2022. It's not everywhere, but in a lot of metros like Ontario, I'm sorry, like Riverside and San Bernardino County, um, you're seeing that where at 2022 levels of inventory kind of peaked the market with home prices, and since then it's been down. So you definitely have less inventory versus pre-pandemic, but you're really close. I mean, pre-pandemic was 14,693. Now you're at 13,724. So very close. Probably a lot more homes for sale, I'm guessing. And there are some, looks like some prices. Let me go back there and look at this again. Prices are starting to come down. It looks like down 2.5% year over year. But Zillow thinks you're going to be up 1%. I don't know. There may be a reason for that. They're probably going to revise this again, but I think it's interesting to look at, kind of see. It'd be really interesting to see how right they are over time, right? How correct they are. All right, let's go back to the request and see what we can get. Thanks for San Bernardino, though. That was nice. I like that. Oh, got a comment on. Let me see. Yeah, Cincinnati. Yep, I'll do that one. Carissa, thanks for joining us today. By the way, I have on all Ohio channel. I live in Ohio, so I've got a Ohio housing nerd channel that that's growing. It's growing and doing a lot of good videos there. I've got a property tax video coming out on that channel, doing a Ohio farm video on the farmland situation in Ohio coming up. But yeah, putting a lot of energy into Ohio's housing nerd channel. But I will do Cincinnati here in a minute. Hey, ML. Okay, so we looked at the Ozarks a little while ago in Branson and Springfield. Thank you so much. Ozark is south of Springfield, so not on that map. Branson is close too, right? Know that. Did Branson. Oh, here's another one. South Jordan, Utah, in Salt Lake County, please. Okay. That'd be an interesting one to look at. I will. Inventory is growing and jobs and economy are not. Zillow will revise. They probably will, right? They probably and honestly, shouldn't they revise? Like, I don't know. When I worked in sales and sales leadership, like we revise numbers all the time. Forecast anyway. You had to, even, sales data, if it was, if things trickled through and it was incorrect, you want to make sure it's correct. I don't think the revisions are bad necessarily, because there's always going to be new data that's presented. What's up, Annie? How are you? The home I'm watching in Alabama just got another price reduction this morning. Sweet. Good sign. It's a good sign. FYI, my 2003 Missouri home value crashed in 2008, well below the pre-bubble value and what I paid in 03. They will get hit hard eventually. It's not an influx state. Yeah, we'll have to see. Hey, you're welcome. No problemo. All right, let's do, I've got a couple here to do. Cincinnati. Let's do Cincinnati. Just curious to see what Zillow says on Cincinnati. 12-month home price forecast up 1.6%. Okay. Now, let's look at shift since the peak. This is actual home prices. So different, right? Since 2022, Cincinnati's not down. It's up 11% in home prices. 1 year change, 2.7% up. 2 year change, 6.5%, 11, 23%, 41%, and 53.7. Just like San Bernardino, Riverside area that we just looked at. Look at this year here. If I look at year 5 and year 4, which is 2020 to 2021, If I look at that year, it's nearly a 20% home price growth in that 1 year. That 1 year wrecked the Ohio market. Actually, the 2 years really wrecked the Ohio market because we had 2 years of crazy home price growth. But the next year wasn't as big, but it was still big. I mean, it was what, 12% that next year? And then you went down to 5%. And now you're down to 3% approximately, or 4%, however you want to look at that. So that home price growth, folks, is shrinking. It is shrinking. Will it go negative all over? Could. It could. Depends how inventory does, right? But unfortunately for inventory folks, we're actually declining in inventory now nationwide because new listings aren't increasing overall. We're barely up with new listings, barely. And inventory is starting to fall. So I think month over month, most data providers have us falling in the number of homes for sale, actually going down. So to me, that's one of the bigger surprises of the year is inventory. But we're looking at prices right now in Cincinnati. Stay on track, housing nerd. Let's now go to the inventory and take a look. Cincinnati. Inventory levels compared to pre-pandemic, completely different than Riverside, right? Look at that, down 27% in the number of homes for sale. That's a good amount difference, right? I'll tell you, we'll look at it in a minute because there's some differences in Ohio, even in the state. Year over year, though, you're up 18% in the number of homes for sale. That's good. That's good. More homes, that definitely helps. Look at in 2017, look at the number of homes you had. Basically 7,000, right? And then that number dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped to 2,400 homes. Now 3,951. So like you're still below pre-pandemic levels of 5,446. But look back in 2017, you had 6,900 homes for sale. Like you're way off of 2017 numbers as far as the number of homes for sale. I'm seeing that across the state, by the way. Carissa, I'm seeing that all over the place throughout the state and throughout the United States as well. But let's look at, I'll show you Columbus real quick. Look at Columbus. It's only off 0.5% compared to pre-pandemic levels of inventory. In fact, the county of Franklin, where Columbus is in, I know because I look at the data every day, it's actually up versus pre-pandemic levels. So Columbus and the central Ohio market has added a lot more homes for sale than Cincinnati has compared to pre-pandemic levels. Year over year shift up 30% in Columbus. And look at the inventory. We're really close to 2017 levels now in Columbus. I mean, we had 4,700 homes for sale in Columbus in 2017. Now we have 4,200. So I know you asked about Cincinnati, but Cincinnati and Cleveland are very similar in the fact that their inventory levels have not caught up to pre-pandemic, whereas Columbus inventory's exploded. And that's where you can find opportunities. I know people getting deals right now. After this, after I'm done, I'm going to look at a investment property for myself, a duplex in Newark, which is right next door. There are more opportunities on the MLS. I'm seeing it. They're there. And I'm making offers. So that's the situation in Cincinnati. Will prices continue to go up there? I think they will if inventory continues to lag compared to pre-pandemic levels. Will it, and if it goes up 2%, that's not that much, right? Compared to where we've seen it. It's not a decline. It's not a crash. But, I think the other thing you have to consider here, Carissa, is what kind of inventory is it? And where is it located? Like when I look at a zip code level view of this data, I can see where that I can see where the inventory is growing the most and the price declines are happening inside the city, inside the metro. Outside the metro, I'm still seeing price increase and lower levels of inventory. But inside Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland, you can see the red starting to show up with prices. So Don't get it twisted. There are areas of Cincinnati that probably have lower home prices versus last year. This is like a Cincinnati area metro look, not necessarily just inside the city limits. All right, let's go back, see what else. Somebody asked, I hope that helped, Carissa. Thank you. And thank you for watching the Ohio channel. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Utah, what do we got? You know, Utah is one of those areas where, if I remember right, from 2006 through 2009, home prices went up in Utah. Crazy, right? Like during the great financial crisis when I, haven't been in real estate. I have not since 2009, but I went through that time and since then thought home prices crashed everywhere throughout the US. We just had somebody here, I brought up their comment from Missouri who said that their home price dropped way below what they paid for it originally during the great financial crisis. So it's not equal everywhere. The folks that say that home prices are going to skyrocket or crash in every corner of the US, I don't know. I don't know why they would say that. It's obviously hyper local. We all know that. And you know that. Now let's do Utah. I don't know where Utah is. Okay. Let's look at Salt Lake. That's the best I can do. 12-month home price forecast, 1%. They went out on a limb. Home prices are going to grow 1% according to Zillow. All right. Let's look at what they've actually done. Look at this. Wow. This one's kind of crazy. Very, very interesting. So in Salt Lake City, the shift since the peak down 3.7%. So meaning if you bought in 2022, basically, this is what this means. Your home value is down 3.7, basically 4%, right? What's weird though, is look at how the prices have changed. It's almost like that 1 year you had a bad year of home prices 3 years ago, which would have been 2022. But then home prices started to increase because if you go back just 2 years, home prices in Salt Lake City are up 3%. 1 year changed 2%. But remember, and one of the things, by the way, I love about Travis at Real Estate Mindset, what he reminds people of is that it costs money to sell a home, right? It does. Even if you sell it yourself and don't use a realtor. So forget realtors. Say, I don't want to use a realtor, which you don't have to, by the way. It's not rocket science selling a house. You just have to, like anything else, you got to study it, talk to some people who have done it without a realtor, and then, go through the steps. But there's no crime against it. I mean, you can do anything you want. But if you don't use a realtor, you're still going to pay usually a couple percentage points at least in title fees. And you're going to pay moving expenses normally, right? There's going to be a cost to transact the deal unless it's a second house. You don't have to move then. But if it's your primary house, you got to move. Point being, depending on what you put down on a house, a 3 and a 2% gain year over year, if you bought your house 3 years ago, probably still going to be underwater maybe or breaking even. Now let's look at inventory in Salt Lake. Inventory compared to pre-pandemic up 17, almost 18%. Year over year, you're up 24.6%. Back in 2017, you had 3,133 homes for sale. Now you've got 3,387 homes for sale. So way different than Cincinnati. We just looked at where they're way down in the number of homes for sale versus 2017. But in Utah, you got down to 1,271 homes at one point in 2021. Now 3,387. So inventory is definitely building there. It definitely is. And prices don't look like they're skyrocketing. They're not crashing according to the latest pricing data, right? If we look at prices again, these are the prices. 1 year change, 2% up, 2 year change, 3% up. But go back to that 6 year change again, 53%. So less than 10% growth. And look at the year 5 to 4. Look at that. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's a 29% gain in home prices between 2 years, right? My math's right. Yeah. 29% growth in home prices in that 1 year. That really, really was the killer. I mean, the year before that, 10, 11, 13% growth. But it's not like prices went up 30% every year. It's really that 1 year. That year of COVID made people go berserk with prices. Like buyers were just unhinged, paying anything for a house, whatever. They did it with cars too, right? People were buying cars, paying way over sticker for cars for some reason. So that 1 year really wrecked the housing market as far as prices go. Wasn't for that year, prices would be up, but nothing like they are. Nothing like they are. It's amazing how that happened. Salt Lake. So that's Salt Lake. That's hopefully that works. Our home is on the market and buyers have the upper hand. Yeah, it could be. Are you moving to Missouri? Is that why you were asking earlier? Got my dog barking. Dog is barking. Do you think homes with land around Columbus are selling or being delisted? Is it common to delist during the winter? Great question, MJ. I haven't ran the details through the MLS recently with delisted homes, but there's a lot of them. You can see it in the numbers. You can see it in the data when you look at, I mean, I'm seeing it all over the place, not just Columbus. There are people buying, like sales in the Ohio market are up in a lot of areas I reviewed on the latest Redfin update. I posted that video a few days ago on my channel. Home sales are actually up in many markets. People are buying more homes than they were this time last year. Not a lot more, but I think overall, a lot of sellers are delisting their homes. Now, that tells me they don't need to sell. And so the narrative, you got to be careful on this. The narrative that there's a lot of motivated selling turning into distress selling. To say it's a lot is not truthful, because if there was a lot of distress selling, you would see it in the new listings. People who need to sell are going to leave their home on the market and continually lower the price. If they can't lower it enough because they have a loan, they're going to get a short sale. But if they can't afford their house, they're going to keep their home on the market. They're not going to delist it. If they need to sell, they need to sell. The time of year doesn't matter. The political climate doesn't matter. If you're in distress, you're in distress. And I think, I don't think we've seen a lot of that yet. Will it come? It could, with everything from student loans to the mortgages that are the FHA loans are, in October, they're changing this month. Actually, they're changing the program with FHA loans, right? You can't go back to the till over and over again to get forbearance. You can get it though once every 12 months, I believe. You can still get that forbearance. So make no mistake, people are still going to get the forbearance. It's not like they're not going to, but it's not going to be as rampant as it is now. So they're ending that FHA forbearance program or changing it. So you could see more distress there. I am seeing more foreclosures in my market. I'm seeing more tax delinquency sales. Those are through the roof. Delinquent taxes in Ohio are 8% now versus a historical trend of like 6%. Tax delinquencies are a monster. And I think you're going to see more and more of that. Point being, the stress could come. But right now, I'm seeing mostly delisted properties because sellers are taking their toys and going home. They can't get the price they're asking. So that's what I think is going on. There are people buying homes, but there's a lot of delisting. Love randomly catch you on a live. Yeah, I got this Zillow data this morning from Resi Club, and I was like, I'll go ahead and just do a live. But it's good to see you, Modus. Thank you. Oh, you're asking for Ohio zip code. I'm not doing zip codes today. I'm not. But let me make a note of this, and I'll do it on my next Ohio update. But I'm not doing zip codes today. Very difficult to do on a live because you got to peck around all these little zip codes. But thank you for joining us. And I will do Huron, Ohio, zip code 44839 on my next Ohio update, live or not. I'm a long distance investor marketing in Columbus and Cincy. When you're talking to realtors to understand the market, what questions would you recommend a long distance wholesaler investor to ask realtors? Wow. That's a great question. Let's see. I would probably want data. Like, regardless of what they said, I would just want data. I would want that first. And I would probably ask for data from 3 different sources. And then I would look at data on my own and compare. When I say 3 different sources, 3 different realtors. And then I would look at the data on my own and kind of triangulate it and go, all right, well, what's the reality here? So I would ask for like a historical trend on the type of property you want to buy, the zip codes, and I would want them to go back in time, not year over year. I'd have them go all the way back before pandemic. That's what I would do. And I would ask for, days on market, inventory levels, pricing, months of supply, number of sold properties. That's what I would look for. So I would just ask them for data personally, because their narrative could be, their answers could be, they may not be consistent with the data you get, right? Because they're driving down the road, answering the phone, and they're like, oh, the market's great, or oh, the market's horrible. It's like, well, give me the data and I'll, make my own decision. That's what I would do personally. I would, though, listen to what they have to say at least, but take it with a grain of salt. You could ask them, if they've helped any other investors buy any properties recently, what those looked like, maybe some testimonials from them with investors, and how those properties are performing, right? And where were they purchased? Because if they're helping an investor or a buyer purchase in an area not where you're buying, then whatever they say doesn't really matter. So, the other way that I haven't done this personally, but I know other investors outside of town will go into the MLS or go into the listings and actually look at who is transacting business in the areas of town that you want to buy and the ones that look like investment properties. You can even do it on Zillow, right? Target the area, pull up the listings that's sold, look at the actual realtors and see if there's commonality, then call that one. That one I may listen to more than just a random person. Hope that makes sense. Oh, I got a super chat. Check us out. But Shazel, is that how I say it? Shazel? Not sure. But thanks for the question. That was awesome. Most people wouldn't ask that. So thank you. Got my brain thinking. Wow, MJ, thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you. Great info. We're moving to Ohio when our home here in Utah finally moves. But honestly, decent homes with land around Columbus area are limited. I see what you're trying to do. Okay. Well, look, MJ, seriously, you want my help? Personally, I'm happy to help, help you locate a property, give you some data around the specific type of property you want to buy. Maybe it's with a ton of acreage. I would say you're probably correct. You either, you may have to buy a new home, like you may have to build a home, or you may have to buy something that needs a ton of work. A lot of farmhouses out there in Ohio, in the country, with tons of acreage that I've seen listed. But the house is like, built in 1910, 1890. If you like that old style house, could be a great opportunity. But if you don't and you want something newer, Ohio doesn't build a lot of new homes. So comparatively, so you may have to build your own, hire a builder obviously on land. But I'm happy to, talk you through that. So call me. My info is in the description, or it will be. Um, Email me if you want. We can connect and I can try to, help you navigate some of the market. Whatever that is, data, or if you want to actually go out and hunt for a property, that's okay too. Anyway, thanks for the super chat. I'm happy to help. And I would love for you to move to Ohio. It's a great state. All right. Let's do somebody else here. Ooh. Oh, real quick, Chazelle. Something else. Taxes, man. Taxes. You got to watch yourself with taxes. If you're a long distance investor in Ohio, you better look at the county auditor site. If you find a deal, look at the taxes now, but then go into the county auditor website, look at how much taxes will be um, once you actually close on the property at the new price, whatever that's going to be. Be very careful with taxes and look really hard at when it was reappraised, when was the reappraisal on the county, because that'll give you an idea of when the taxes could go up again. Property taxes here are no joke, and they kill 90% of the deals I look at. It's taxes. Because the owner paid 50 grand for the house. Now I'm buying it at 200, and the taxes make that deal completely sour. So watch property taxes, man. Oh, what's up, Lisa? Yeah, duh. Ask for comparable market data. I should have said that. Yes, Lisa's right. That would help too. Kingman, Arizona. Let's do Kingman, Arizona. I wonder what Zillow says about Kingman. Yeah, I remember you from earlier, Lisa. Thanks for joining us. Is Kingman down here? No, it's Yuma. Tucson, Sierra, Nogales, Stafford, Payson, Flagstaff. I don't know that I have Kingman on here. Let me look. Oh, it's like near the Grand Canyon, right? Okay, just southeast of Vegas. Sorry, I just need to get my bearings. So Vegas is here, so it's like here somewhere, but all I have is Lake Havasu. That's gonna have to work, I guess. Right? Yeah, that's all I have. Yep. Okay. Lake Havasu. They say home prices are gonna go up 0.1%. You're a realtor. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's I'll have to find out. But yeah, just 0.1% growth. Pretty safe number for them to forecast. Let's look at what's actually gone on, according to Zillow anyway. Oh, yeah, Lake Havasu says it's Kingman, according to Zillow, for that area. Shifts since the peak, down 7%. 1 year change, down 1%. 2 year change, down 0.7, and 3 year change, down 5.6%. I mean, 4 year change only up 5.5. You got to go all the way back to 5 years to see a massive amount of growth. I mean, you go back to 6 years and you're at 50% home price growth. Let me look at active inventory. See what's happening there. Wow, you're up 26% compared to pre-pandemic. I imagine you're seeing a lot more homes for sale. Year over year shift up 24%. So inventory continues to build. I mean, you had 1,246 homes for sale in 2017. Now you've got 1,462 homes for sale. So, and look at the inventory. Look how it's changed. You had 1,200 back in 2017. Now, then you had 1,018. Then you went up actually to 1,100, then down to 636, then down to 544, but up to 1,200, then down to 866, then up to 1,173, then up to 1,462. So inventory's kind of gone up and down. And I'm wondering when I go back to the prices, if that's why you're seeing a like home prices in year 4, if you go back 4 years, are up 5.5%. But if you go back 5 years, they're up 36%. So it looks like maybe the inventory peaked during this period, or was higher during this period of time, causing home prices to moderate somewhat, at least the growth. But it's not like, I mean, it's going down 7%. It's a good amount, according to Zillow. And you've got more than pre-pandemic inventory. So tell me what, I'm curious, what's occurring there, if you're seeing that. Buying Kingman. Right. Looks like there's some deals there, maybe. Are you seeing a lot of deals, Lisa? I'd love to know. Like, are people like making crazy offers and getting them accepted? Or just, are you seeing a lot of distress? That would be nice to know from you. Are you seeing distress from like Airbnb, mom and pop landlords, that type of thing? Just curious. Been looking to buy a house in Stark or Tuscarawas County in Ohio and not having the best of luck. Denial and error. A funny name. Yeah. So look, again, just like I told MJ, please reach out to me. If you look on my channel, you'll see my, not this video. I don't think I posted it yet, but I always post my email address, sometimes the phone number, but reach out to me on the email and see if I can help, because I have to understand kind of what you're looking for. And maybe I can connect you with a realtor in Stark County or Tuscarawas County that specializes in whatever you're looking for, whether it's land or whatever. I don't cover Stark and Tuscarawas County directly, kind of out of my zone. But I can help you find somebody who's knowledgeable. I know a lot of realtors in Ohio. Any reason why New England's doing so well? Well, let's look at New England real quick. But one of the main things is probably inventory. And specifically new construction. Like, I keep mentioning these folks, but like seriously, like Travis at Real Estate Mindset and Melody Wright, they went out on the road and looked at a ton of new building sites a couple years ago, and they called it. They said, there's a ton of new construction in these areas. We're going to see price decline, and that's where we're seeing price decline. New England doesn't have a lot of new builds. And so because of that, they're very constrained in the inventory growth. So let's look and see what Zillow says. So let's see. Let me go up here. So this is kind of the New England area, right? Like if I look at like Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, I should know my geography better, but I don't, I guess. Like if you look at some of these markets like Concord, New Hampshire, this is a forecast now. Zillow says it's going to be up 4.3%. Portland, Maine, up 2.6%. Lewiston, Maine, up 3.5%. Augusta, Maine, up 3.8%. Bangor, Maine, up 3.4%. I mean, these areas, 3.7, 3.9, Norwich, Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut, 4% growth in home prices. Torrington, Connecticut, 4.7%. Bridgeport, Connecticut, 3%. Pittsfield, Massachusetts, 3%. So the Northeast just doesn't have a lot of new construction. They just don't. And the inventory growth has suffered. But let's really look at what's happened there as far as prices. Look at Bangor, Maine. Year over year, up 2.5%. Look at the 6-year change, up 70.7%. 70.7%. What in the world? Like, that's crazy. Look at this, 1 year was nearly 30%, like it is in a lot of other areas. That 1 year just wrecked it. And you're up 13% since 2022. I mean, these areas are just off the hook. Like, but even these markets aren't growing like they did a few years ago. Like, this is 3.3% in Concord, New Hampshire, in home price growth. 4.2% over the last year in Keene, is that how you say it? Keene, New Hampshire. Providence, Rhode Island, up 2.5%. Boston, up 1%. Home price growth is definitely slowing, but it's still going up. New Haven, Connecticut, up 3.3%. Look at that, up 70% in the last 6 years. That looks like Torrington, Connecticut, up 72%, 73%. Wow. So let's now look at inventory and see what's been going on. Yeah, so look at this. This is a great question, by the way. Thank you for asking it. E.T. Blackbeard. That's a pretty cool name. Are you a pirate? But if you look at this map, E.T., you can see where inventory has grown, and this is compared to pre-pandemic levels. Just look at, take an overview and look at the map. The Northeast, the Midwest, for the most part, brown. The South, green. The West, greener. But where it's green, that's where inventory is higher versus 2019. Where it's brown, that's where it's lower than 2019. And so, like, look at Hartford, Connecticut. This, I mean, I'm really glad you brought this up. I mean, inventory there is down 73% since 2019. 73%. I mean, that's crazy. There's nothing for sale there comparatively, right? Like, look, and this is just Hartford, but it looks like the rest of the area is the same. You had 5,400 homes for sale back in 2017. That number was falling, as it was in a lot of other areas, all the way down. You're nearly still a low. Like, you had 1,014 homes for sale in 2023. Now you only have 1,282 homes for sale. So you are up 17% in the number of homes in Hartford, but you don't have anything. Like, there's only 1,000, and there's a lot of people live in that market. So I think not having any new construction really wrecks you. Really wrecks you. Let me look here. There was somebody talking about, I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's, I'm trying to find Westchester County or the Westchester area. I guess it's probably like right here, I'm guessing, but I don't see it in the name. But if you look at some of these other markets, like look at Torrington, Connecticut, down 70% in the number of homes for sale. Amherst, down 55%. Springfield, Massachusetts, down 50% in inventory. I mean, you're not going to have home price decline, and you ask why is the market doing so well there? Inventory. Be wary of anybody who tells you inventory is not where prices follow. It has to be the right inventory, obviously, but overall, if inventory in a zip code has exploded, prices are probably coming down. That's why they're going up in Massachusetts and in New England. Look at this. Providence, Rhode Island, down 52%. How many homes do you have for sale? 2,260. I mean, Battleboro, Vermont, down 54%. Go up into Maine. Not as bad, but still down 36% in the number of homes for sale. Goodness. Look at this. You had 1,000 at one point. Now you have 522. Lewiston, Maine, down 45%. Portland, Maine, down 35%. Portland, Maine, down 35%. So look, it is what it is. It's supply and demand. I've heard somebody recently, I'm not going to name who they are, but I've heard somebody recently talk about how Portland, Maine has an explosion of inventory. Like they have a surge of listings. Well, they are up 21% year over year. I can't deny that. But they're still 35% under 2019 levels. And if I look at the Northeast area in general, it's just getting beat up. Hang on though. Look at Vineyard Haven. This must be, was that Cape Cod? Is that what that is? Inventories actually, or Martha's Vineyard. I don't know if that's true or not, but you're up in inventory, 7.7%. Nantucket, Massachusetts. Look at the inventory level, up 201%. So there are a lot more homes in Nantucket than there were back in 2017. You got 184 homes versus 82. So if you're looking for like a house on the Cape, maybe there's a deal. I don't know if there is, but I think this tells the story. It's unreal when you look at these inventory numbers, though. Like, you don't have any inventory. I mean, even like New York City, look at that, down 47% compared to pre-pandemic levels, the number of homes for sale. You had 61,000 back in 2017. Now you have 35,000, 36,000 homes for sale. It's crazy. Philly is like in the same situation. That whole Northeast area. I go on and on about that. That is data completely amazes me every time I look at it. Like, what? How's that possible? No new construction. But that's why New England's not, that's why it's doing so well with prices, because there's inventory's not, there's not a surplus of homes for sale. Denver. You got it, Brandon. Let's look at Denver. Denver. Oh, here's one they think is going to be down, right? Zillow forecast for Denver, Colorado, down 1.3% over the next 12 months. According to Zillow, home prices will continue to drop there. If I click around the state a little bit, down 1.2%, Colorado Springs, Greenlee, Colorado, down 1%, Boulder, down 1.7%, Fort Collins, down 0.5%, Breckenridge, down 1.1%, Pueblo, Colorado, down 0.6%. There are some blue areas, though. Edwards, Colorado, maybe because I think there's a base there, an air base, right? Up 5.5%. Steamboat Springs up 5.6%. That's a big growth number. I haven't seen many that high yet. Montrose, Colorado, up 2.5%. Durango, Colorado, 2.6%. Grand Junction, 2%. So yeah, that Denver area, right around Denver, seems to be where they think home prices are going to fall. Now, let's look at what they've actually done. Yeah, red is bad, blue is good. So Denver, you're down 8.7% since 2022. Down 3% in 1 year, down 2.6% in 2 years. 3-year change, 5.2%. I mean, down. You have to go back 4 years before you find home price growth. And that's only 5% 4 years ago. Basically, if you bought 5 years ago or 6 years ago, you're doing okay. But if you bought 4 years ago, you're only up 5.2%, probably barely enough to sell your house, right? To actually transact on it. I mean, wait till you see these inventory numbers. These are crazy in Denver. Crazy. Like, I mean, completely the other end of the spectrum, right? I mean, you can see Northeast area of the U.S. again, brown. Brown is down. No inventory, right? But now let's go to Denver. Look at this. 45% 30% more homes for sale versus 2019. That's going to cause a price problem. It's like anything else. If you have more of something on a shelf, you need some more water. If you have anything for sale on a shelf, widget A, widget B, a house, a rental property, an Airbnb, doesn't matter. If there's a lot of supply, unless demand exponentially increases, you're going to see price decline. That's just how supply and demand works, right? Inventory compared to pre-pandemic up 45%. Unbelievable. You're up 30% year over year. So let's look at the numbers. 7,000 listings back in 2017. Holy moly. Now you've got 12,735 active listings. That's an explosion of inventory. A lot of that's probably driven by new homes. I'm guessing. That's just a guess. But a lot of it's probably driven by new homes. Unbelievable. So you've got like a, what's that? 3, 5, 8. Got like an 8-year high of inventory right now. By far. It's like not even close. Like have exceeded it. Actually, something like this, I'm really curious. Going all the way back to 2012. I wonder what it looks like. So I'm just going to look at Redfin real quick because I can look at this chart on the monthly data down here. And let's see. Let me just look at this. Yeah, look at that. Holy moly. Like this goes all the way back to 2012. The chart, the info we were just looking at only went to 2017. And that was with realtor.com inventory data. This is Redfin, but the chart is kind of, just as ominous. I mean, look at that. I mean, Redfin has you, well, it's pretty close. Redfin has you at 12,700 houses for sale. If I go back to like all this time during 2018, 2016, 2013, 2012. I mean, go back to August 2012, you only had 10,700 homes for sale. Now you've got 10,700 homes. Now you've got 12,000 homes. So the population's grown in Denver, I'm sure. I mean, it's a popular city. A lot of people have probably moved in, but they got a lot of homes for sale, man. I don't know if you're a guy. I call everybody that. So I'm just saying, man. But you do have a lot of homes for sale right now. I want to see somebody get a deal. I want to hear somebody. There's a guy on my channel, Tech Ninja. That dude got a crazy deal on a property. Several $100,000 off. So I want to hear somebody who actually took advantage of these situations, because that's really what we're trying to do, right? I'm trying to give you some info so you can take advantage of an opportunity. I mean, the sellers have had the upper hand for so long. They have had, they've had the upper hand. So it's kind of nice that the buyers have some type of power, I think. Anyway, that's Denver. That was eye-opening. Oh my goodness. Oh, you told me Rochester, New York. I didn't see this. I'm sorry, ET. Let me just look at Rochester, because I was looking at New England. Is that considered New England? It's like up here, isn't it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. Rochester. 2.4% home price forecast from Zillow. So they're pretty bullish on it. Let's look at Rochester. Oh my goodness. Oh, you're up 19% since the peak. You only have you're up 3.2% in Rochester, New York. Look at the 6-year change, 67%. Wow. But home price growth slowing. Good for you. Maybe. Depends on what you're trying to do. But look at the inventory. You're down 53% compared to pre-pandemic. Wow. Yeah. 2,900 homes for sale at one point in 2017. Now 1,000 homes for sale. That's ain't going to cut it. Ain't going to cut it. You would think that there'd be some new construction there, maybe, or maybe there's not. But the Northeast in general just doesn't have a great supply of new homes. I got a question for you if you're still watching this or if you're joining us now or watching the replay. Do you think we have a housing shortage in the US? Do you think we do? Do you think we have enough homes for sale? Um, Better question. Do you think we have enough available homes? Not houses, because every house is owned by somebody. You know, it could be the government, could be a mom and pop investor. So there's like 15 million vacant homes out there. They're all owned by somebody. Somebody owns them. But they're just not for sale. A lot of them. Some of them are. But I'm curious if you really think there's a housing shortage. Or if do you see a lot of homes near you that are, you know, ready to go, move-in ready, abandoned, but in pristine condition that you can just move into and they're priced accordingly for sale. Is that happening or not? I don't think it's happening because otherwise people would be getting deals. But Rochester, New York just doesn't have enough inventory, at least on the market. Hope that helped. Sorry for the late response on that. Okay. Yes. There is a snowbird retirement. That is a snowbird retirement vacation area. Right. Very different. A lot of Airbnbs. Okay. I only work in Kingman. Yes, screaming deals. Here we go. Look at that. I've honestly debated like looking in Arizona now, Florida, probably not Florida, but Arizona I really like. I love Arizona. So I've debated like starting to look because I think there are going to be deals out there. Wow. Screaming deals, huh? When you say screaming deals, Lisa, are you talking like, you know, like way off of current list price where you're like, wow, like that guy got a deal, like, you know, 20% off, 30% off list? Or is it like a couple percentages points off list? I don't know. If you could give us an example, you don't have to give us a house, you know, the actual address, but just like the numbers, I would love to see it. Very curious about that. Or maybe email me afterwards. I'd just really like to know. Las Vegas, Sin City. Let's do Sin City. I like Vegas too. 12-month home price forecast 0.4% up. That's what they say is going to happen. Will it? We'll have to see. Let's look at this one. How much has it gone up? Now, what Zillow does here is they lump in the metro of Las Vegas, Henderson, Paradise. That's how they do it. Shift since the peak, down 3%. So since 2022, you're still down 3%. Actually, the way this is landing, if you bought in 2022, you may be down 3%. That's how they're basically saying it. But 1 year change down 0.8, 2 year change up 5.3. So there was a window in there at which prices came down. And if you bought during that period of time, now you're up 5.3%, basically in 2023. So inventory shot up, prices came down. I think people bought, and that caused the median price to go back up, or the Zillow average price, they call it. 3 year change down 1.4%, 4 year change 17, 6 year change 46.8. Okay. So that's definitely compressing. The growth is compressing. There's no doubt of home prices. Active inventory for sale in August, 10,095. You're up 4.6% in inventory, but let's just look. I'm curious what the inventory actually looks like. Up 4.6% since 2019, up nearly 50% year over year. A lot more homes than last year on the market. Yeah, look at this number. So you were at 6,400 homes for sale in 2017. Then if I go down, I can see where you skyrocketed to 10,730 homes. That, I think, was that mark at which a ton of inventory hit the market. Then people were like, wow, there's probably opportunities out here. People had to sell their home. There's probably distress in this number, I'm guessing. And then those homes were probably purchased. Prices went up, but now they're falling again because now you're back building to inventory at 10,000 homes for sale. And I got to think a lot of that's new construction. I got to think there's a ton of pain in new construction out there. Have to think that. I mean, the housing developments out west, like in Vegas, are in Arizona, Phoenix, Southern California, even in Florida, like a lot of markets, just not in the Midwest and not in the Northeast. They're like sprawling developments where there's thousands of homes. So I got to think there's pain. I've actually made offers on new houses recently to add, for rental properties because the interest rate's good and the prices are coming down big time. New homes is where it's at if you want to go shopping. But you got a lot of inventory. So looks like prices are going to struggle there. I would think inventory will continue to build. I think you're going to continue to see prices struggle in Vegas. Everything's hyper local, but overall, that's what I'm seeing. I hope that helped. I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. Not bad yet. Now I stand, though, for these. So my old body can't take it after a while. I hope that helped, Michael. Thanks for joining us. Yo. Lots of action in the housing market. That's right. That's right, McConaughey 840. You're right. Shasta County, California. Lots of new subdivision builds that will not reflect on Zillow supply analysis. Okay. That's like, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember where that is. I used to live out there, not at Shasta, but in California. All right. So north of Sacramento, right? Let me look at see if Zillow has the data. I don't know if they do or not. There's Sacramento. So north of that, Redding, California, Grass Valley, Susanville. Let me look. Redding, right? I can go to Redding. That's where I'm going to go. Let me look at the forecast first. Then we'll come back to inventory in a second. Redding, California, they say home prices are going to decline 1.1%. If I just click around California for a second, since we're out here, they say Ukiah, California, down 7%, they say. Yeesh. They think home prices are really going to fall there. Eureka, down 5%. Santa Rosa, down 3%. San Francisco, down 3%. I mean, the Bay Area is taking a beating. Yuba City, down 0.5%. Sacramento, down 1.4%. These are predictions, forecasts, by the way, if you're just joining us. And if you're joining us, make sure you hit the like button. Don't be a freeloader. All I ask is the like button. Merced, California, down 0.2%. Truckee, California, down 1.6%. I already said Susanville, right? Down 2%. So, yeah, definitely some price decline pain, they say, is coming. Let's find out how it's actually done. They don't give us the same data. They don't give us the same breakout of cities, but they do show us Redding. Since 2022, down 4%. 1 year change, down 8%. 2 year change, 1 year change, down 0.8%, not 8%, down 0.8%. 2 year change, down 0.5%. 3 year change, down 2.6%. 4 year change, up 4%. 5 year change, up 25%. Look at this 6 year change, 31%. That's only 5% a year, folks. That's not a lot comparatively to these other areas. So prices haven't completely gone insane there over the last 6 years, but it looks like prices are falling right now. They're definitely soft. Let's look at inventory and see how that's doing. Redding, California. Well, zoom there. Down 5.4%. inventory compared to 2019. But you're saying that's not right because new homes aren't counted. I'm not going to disagree with that. Probably there's a lot of new home data that probably isn't baked into this. New home builders, by the way, there's no rule they have to put them on the MLS. For some reason, I think people assume, I'm not saying you think this, but a lot of people assume that like it's fraud because they're not adding them to the MLS. You don't have to put your house on the MLS. It's not a rule. If you're a builder, you can, or you don't have to. There's a new build right down the street from me. It's not on the MLS. So you don't have to do it. It usually helps sell the house, but you don't have to. You can do anything you want. It's your property. Let's go back here though to Reading. Down 5. Inventory says you're still down under pre-pandemic levels, but you're saying that's false. Year over year shift up 37, 38%. You nearly have as many homes. I mean, you're at 738 now. You've grown a lot over the last year in inventory. But you're really close to pre-pandemic levels. So if you're seeing continued softening, you're seeing builders adding inventory, I'd say there's a good opportunity out there. That's what I'd say. Like you're not, one of the things I think people want to do right now is wait for the market to bottom. Pretty hard to time the bottom of a real estate market. So if you think like a house is worth 20% less, if you're like, well, no, it still needs to fall 20%, make the offer 20% less. Pick your number. You can make an offer for anything you want. You're not going to go to jail. Make an offer that makes sense for you. Especially if you can be patient. All right. That was Shasta County, California. Loss of new subdivisions. I hope that helped. Was I in the right area? I probably wasn't. I don't see. Ready. Yep, got it. All right. I hope that helped, Tony. Go back up. Las Vegas, I did this one. Shasta County. A lot of 2020 buyer here look like they're starting to get desperate. We've got multiples that have been on the market over 100 days. And in the last 2 weeks, I've seen big price cut reductions on half of them. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. There are people that bought way too, they went way over their skis on pricing on the deal. Investors, non-investors, boomers, millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, silent generation. Everybody, there are a lot of people that went in over their skis. And some of them are like, well, this house is too expensive. I need to sell it. Right? So as you see that, and if you think that's happening, that's when I would be making an offer. If you can sense that type of leverage you have in the deal. Was working on an assumable, but they wouldn't budge on price. And about a week later, it went contingent. Cool. You're going after assumable loans. Good for you. That's a great idea. What McConaughey's saying here, folks, is that if you can go to a website called Roam, like you're going to roam around, and that's how it's spelled. And if you Google Roam, they have, and maybe you use this, McConaughey, maybe you didn't, but they feature properties, and I'm not affiliated with Roam at all, but they feature properties that have assumable loans with them. So you can assume somebody's loan that maybe has an ultra low interest rate, like under 3, maybe under 4%, right? And usually it's a VA, USDA, or an FHA loan. Typically it is, not always, but usually. It's not an easy process, but it can be done to assume the loan. And sometimes you can win those deals and get an interest rate that is far under what you would get now in today's market. So assumable loans are that's actually a really great opportunity. And if I was looking for a house right now, a house to live in, I would definitely be on Roam looking at assumable loans. Sellers are softening here in Reno. At least the owners feeling distress are softening. Right. You're going to see that. That's the way it works in every market. You're going to see distress. You're going to uh, and those people are going to leave their home on the market and continue to cut the price. They may take it off, but they're going to put it right back on, probably with a lower price. But people that are in distress don't like, take their home off the market and just go, oh, well, they're like, no, I got to sell. I got to sell. And they're going to try, right? Or you'll see it go into foreclosure or short sale, but it's not going to be just removed from the market. And, and they're just going to say, oh, I don't have to do anything. I'm just going to sit here and pay my mortgage, because many of them can't. So good. I'm glad you're seeing that stuff. I mean, I don't want people to be in distress by any means, but I'm glad that you're seeing opportunities for you to buy at a price that makes sense for you. Not enough sense of urgency to sell. Exactly. Exactly right, Blackbeard. Many people do not have a sense of urgency to sell. They don't. If there's no motivation, then then you're going to have to pay what they want. You're welcome, E.T. Blackbeard. Absolutely not a shortage, but they won't. Oh, we're asking about housing shortage. You're talking about it. But they won't vary for sale till boomers realize the situation. I talked to multiple in Minneapolis this weekend, and they're still super stubborn and willing to wait there. Yeah, right. I agree. If there are 15 million vacant homes sitting, if just 50K of them went on the market, it could make a decent impact in prices. Of course, if that inventory hit the market. The problem I have with the narrative on vacant homes is that somebody owns those homes. They're not on the market ready to buy. And honestly, like, to me, I don't think anybody should tell anybody what to do with the property they own. I just don't think that's what the United States is about. So therefore, like, if I buy 5 homes and I leave them vacant, I mean, that's my right to do that. It's my right. And I'm not saying you think this, McConaughey, but the vacant home narrative is like, I almost shrug my shoulders and go, so what? If somebody needs to sell their vacant home, they'll put it on the market. If they don't need to sell their vacant home, they won't put it on the market. And by the way, no one ever talks about what type of homes those are. The vacant homes out there, a lot of the ones I see anyway, are abandoned homes that need hundreds of thousands of dollars of work. They're built in like early 1900. And the housing stock in the US is very old overall. It's very old. If you look at the numbers, it's ridiculously old. So therefore, a lot of these, 15 million vacant homes are homes that are going to require a lot of work. So to pretend that it's inventory that's available that should crash the market, it's like, well, somebody owns those homes. Somebody owns those places. And nobody can force them to give them up. If they need to sell them, they'll put them on the market. If they don't need to sell them, they'll keep them. I just looked at one last week in a little town over here. The price was like, I was talking to the person at like $22,000 for this house, 3-bedroom, 1-bath house built in 1900. It needed $130,000 in work to get it up to a standard that would make sense as a rental. The house next door was abandoned too, in horrible shape. One of the reasons I didn't buy this one. That one I could probably scoop up too for $20-some thousand if I try to go get it, right? And it needed even more work, it looked like. So the point is, like, those homes are part of the vacant home inventory, but somebody owns them and they're willing to sell them. The guy wasn't desperate. He was just like, I just want to sell this thing. Didn't make sense for me, but it could make sense for somebody else. In fact, I think he is in contract now. So it's like those opportunities exist, but to pretend that, the 15 million vacant home narrative doesn't mean a lot to me. Because I'm like, well, yeah, people own homes. That's we can do that. If we buy a home, we can keep it as long as you pay the property tax. That's a whole other situation. Younger folks making enough money for these prices. Younger folks making enough money for this. I think the biggest thing I see older folks wanting someone to come along and fund their retirement on the sale of their house. We have an inverted population pyramid. There aren't enough younger folks making enough money for these prices. Yeah, look, I don't disagree with that. I think your second part there, the younger folks, I think they definitely, if you're younger or you're a first time buyer now and you can't just walk out and get something that's list price, a brand new house or whatever, you got to be strategic. To me, if I'm a first time buyer now, I house hack. I absolutely find not a duplex, but a triplex or a quad building, a 4-unit or a 3-unit building. I use an FHA loan as an investor, which you can do. Don't let anyone tell you you can't use an FHA loan as an investor. It's not illegal if you follow the rules. The rules state if you live in one unit as your primary residence, you can rent out the other units. So I buy a triplex building, I rent out the other 2 units, I pay my mortgage, all my mortgage, or nearly all of it with the 2 units. And then I don't have to pay rent because I'm living in my building. And I keep that, maybe stay there forever if I have to, but maybe not. Maybe I end up refinancing the deal and then go find another one, because you can only have one FHA loan for the most part in your name at one point. But if you use an FHA loan as a young first-time buyer, to McConaughey's point, you can actually use that as an investment property if you live in it for the first year. So if you buy a single-family house and you go to HUD's, the housing and urban development website, the rules are right there in black and white. It angers me to no end when I hear people on YouTube say people using FHA loans as investors are fraud. I'm like, you either don't know what you're talking about and you've never been in the game, so you can't speculate or talk about it, or you don't want to give people the truth. The truth is you can definitely use FHA loans for an investment if you live in it the first year. So if I buy a single family house, use an FHA loan to close, put down 3.5%, get favorable financing, live in it for a year and a half, 12 and a half months, 13 months, 18 months, whatever, over a year as my primary residence, according to HUD rules, I can then move out, keep the FHA loan on that property, and rent it as an investor, rent it out to somebody and collect cash flow. Now, I can't go get another FHA loan until that one's out of my name, so I have to refinance or sell the property, or pay it off. But I can certainly use it as an investment tool. It can be done. And the house hack on a multifamily, on a small multifamily, 2, 3, or 4-unit building, that's like, I can't even say it. It's amazing. That's an amazing opportunity for a first-time buyer. It's not the easiest thing to do because you got to live in the building with other people. It may not be your ideal situation, but I'm not talking about the ideal situation. I'm talking about what you can do to separate yourself from the BS that's out there. I mean, and by the way, institutional investors are not going to do that. Other investors like me can't do that because I can't move into that triplex. I can't get that loan. To be able to put 3.5% down on a triplex, man, that's like, it's something you really can't do very often. So anyway, that's my rant on FHA and investing, but the opportunities exist for young people. Christine, how are you? Hey, so I'm not doing counties today. I'm doing metros across the country, but I will write down Wayne County and make sure I do it on my next Ohio video. I will definitely do it. I know you're always on, so thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Steven, Charlotte, okay. Let's see, what do we got? Charlotte, they say home prices are going to grow 2%, a whole 2%. Not that much, right? That's what they think is going to happen. Zillow thinks that. Now let's look at the actual results. 1 year change down 0.8%. That's what they say home prices have done in Charlotte. So they've gone down 0.8%. But look at the 2 year change, 1.7. Look at the 3-year change, 1.4. You got to go all the way back 4 years to get any type of real return, right? 4-year change, 20%, 21% if you round up growth. Go back 6 years, 60%. 60% growth. Now let's look at active inventory. See how that's doing. How's active inventory? Up 15% compared to 2019 levels. Year over year, up 36%. So you definitely have more homes for sale than you did in 2019. In 2017, you had 8,900 homes for sale. Now, 9,700, and pre-pandemic was 8,400. So you're like at an 8-year high of inventory in Charlotte. 8-year high. Wow. Now, I'm sure, again, you've had population growth, but still, like, you've got a lot more homes than you had back in 2017. Not a lot more. You have more homes. And it looks like inventory is going to continue to rise there. It's going to continue to rise. Wow. Interesting, right? So looks like prices are softening. Inventory is going up. All good news if you're a buyer. Even if you're a seller, this isn't horrible news because at least you have comparables, right? And the market, maybe it's active there. Maybe people are actually buying and selling homes there. That's good if you're a seller. You're like, okay, you know, you price it right, you'll move it, generally speaking. But now it's all coming down to price, right? Like marketing the property, unless it's like a luxury property that's very specific, isn't going to do much. It all comes down to the prices. So you got to price yours accordingly. You want to sit on the market and rot, price it high. You want it to move, make it compelling, where somebody looks at the listings and goes, what's that property right there? What is that? What's up with that? Much better to price it, in a compelling way and let the market bring you opportunity, bring you buyers, than try to start high and work your way down, especially now. Those days are gone. So it has changed a lot. The market has definitely changed. But that's Charlotte. Can I check cancellation rate for Reno? Seems like a lot of contingent coming back on the market after 2 months. Let me see if you're always commenting, McConaughey, so I'll do this. See if I can find this info. I'm in Zillow now and their website because I think they published this, I believe. Yeah, no. They used to have it. They used to have it on here, but they don't have it right now. I don't have that info. The canceled listings, I don't have it. Let me write it down. Maybe I can put it down. Maybe I can find a data source for that. I thought they used to have it. I thought Zillow did, but I don't see it. I see price cuts. I can look at price cuts, but it's not very intuitive. Like it's like this data from Zillow sometimes, unless you're looking at the raw data, is not great. Like Reno, probably not going to be on here. Is it? No, Reno's not even on this map for cancellate or for price cuts. So anyway, that wasn't very helpful. Sorry. Oh, Cook County. Yeah. Manya Pablo. What's up? Thank you for joining us. Let's look at Well, I'm going to look at Chicago, if that's all right. 12-month home price forecast for Chicago, up 1.2%. That's what they say is going to happen. Now let's look at what has actually happened. Up 3.3% in home prices. So definitely more price growth there in some of these other areas, even in like Ohio. So I mean, Chicago's a tight market, I think. We'll look at inventory in a minute, but 2-year change up 8.5%, 3-year change 13%, 6-year change 40%. Now, I'm not saying that's not some good growth, but it's not 70%. That's good news. But you're also not down year over year. So it's like maybe it's stabilizing there as far as prices go. I know taxes there are off the hook. Let's look at inventory. That'll tell us really what's going on. Inventory of homes for sale. Up 15% compared to pre-pandemic. Year-over-year shift up 36%. So you've got more homes than 2019. That's good. You've got 36% more year over year. Let's look and see how it's trending. Wow, look at that. You've got I'm surprised, honestly. Oh, that's Charlotte. My fault. Shoot, sorry. My bad. I was like, what? How is that possible in Chicago? Okay, Chicago. Sorry. Down 60% compared to pre-pandemic. That's more like it. That makes sense. I was like, wow, I can't believe you're up. Down 60%. Let me make sure I did Chicago before. Okay, yeah. Year over year, you're only up 2.5% in the number of homes for sale. Yikes. You had 38,000 homes for sale in 2017. Now you've got 16,000 homes for sale. Like you actually bottomed in 2023 in inventory, which is completely different than most markets. Most markets you bottomed in like 21, 22, sometimes 2020. But look at this. You're barely up in the last few years. Like you're way off compared to inventory in 2017. People must have just gobbled up homes, man. Gobbled them up. I mean, you're down 60% compared to pre-pandemic. Completely different look than Charlotte, than Denver, certainly, right? Than a lot of areas in California. Just no inventory, according to this data. And I don't think they do a lot of new building there. I don't know where they would. Can't build in Lake. Can't build in Lake Michigan. Yeah. I get a lot of deals sent to me for multifamily in Chicago. None of it ever pencils out, mainly because of taxes. And also because I don't really know the market that well. I haven't dug into any in depth, but it looks like people are not rushing to list their home there. I mean, inventory is very tight, very, very tight there. Wow. Yeah, that inventory situation is not good. Not good. I would expect prices to continue to be sticky. They probably won't, they may not skyrocket. If interest rates drop a lot, not saying Fed rate, saying the 10-year treasury and then mortgage rates drop, you could see home prices reaccelerate because there is nothing for sale. Boy, that was a doozy. Yep, just did it. You still got Blackstone. Oh, you're talking about investors? That's what you're talking about? Corporate monopolies need to go. So yes, Stephen, I just was actually, right before this video, I was working on an outline for another video I'm going to do out actually on the street. Institutional investors, those that own over 1,000 homes, own about 1.6% of the single family rental market. 1.6%. Pretty crazy information. In fact, check this out. This is Resi Club Analytics, and I'm looking for this. Look at this article. I won't read you the article, But it's basically about who owns the inventory of rentals. This is a good topic. We should hit on it. And like I said, I'm doing a whole video about it. But the investors that own over 1,000 properties, and that's considered institutional or Wall Street type investor that own 1,000 or more single family homes, is 1.6% of the rental market. The rental market's like on single family homes now. That's what this is talking about. It's like 15 million approximately homes in the US are rentals out of like 84 million. If you look at the pie, look at who owns 90% of rentals out there. People who own 1 to 5 properties. So it's like you, it's like me. I actually own more than that, not single family houses. So I guess it is me because I don't really like single family houses as investments. I like duplexes, triplexes, and quads. And I don't think that data is counted in here. But nonetheless, only 1 to 5 properties. That's where all the rental market is owned by mom and pop landlords, like the people that you walk by in the street every day. Those are the people that own all the rentals in the US, not institutional investors. And I'm not calling you out for that. I want to provide you the real data because, well, a lot of people don't want to hear this. I'm not saying that's you, but a lot of people look at this data and go, it's fake because they don't like to hear it. They want to blame Wall Street. They want to blame the big bad institutional investor. I'm not saying that they can't be a thorn in your side. In some markets, they own more market share than other markets. Like Columbus, they own like 1.2% of all the rentals. In I think the highest was 4% in Atlanta. They own 4% of the single family rental stock, big investors. But I mean, the majority of landlords out there for single family rentals are tiny little investors. A lot of them are accidental landlords. Like, I wish he would talk about this more on his channel, but Travis at Real Estate Mindset is one of these people. He's one of the investors because he owns a rental property. Every once in a while, he talks about it, and he's an accidental landlord. It sounds like it anyway. He never really was specific about how he acquired the property, but it sounds like he was accidentally a landlord. He has like a 2.5% interest rate, is what he shared on his channel. And he cash flows, he said, like, I remember, I think he cash flows like $700 or $800 a month on his rental. And he's even talked about buying his next house. That's why I really enjoy his content, because he shares a lot about what he's doing. He even shared that he's going to buy his next rental property, or I'm sorry, his next house or a house soon. And he wants to buy one at a low enough price so that he can turn it into a rental in the future. So the people that own the majority of the rentals in the US are accidental landlords or mom and pop landlords that own a few houses. You know, it's that one rental at a time thing that Mike Zuber talks about. Just 4 rental properties. He doesn't talk about buying 100, he talks about buying 4. So I don't know. I see this number and I'm like, wow. Most of them are just small landlords, not big ones. Anyway, you can see here 6 to 10 properties, 3.5%, 11 to 12 properties, 2%. But as you get to a higher number of properties, it kind of goes down. Right? Anyway, I thought that info was really interesting from Resi Club. All right, let's go back to this forecast. That's what you guys came for. And I think Blackstone is owned by, or I'm sorry, Blackstone has share in Invitation Homes, or is it American Homes for Rent? One of them. Oh, you don't like house hacking multifamily? I think multifamily is being way overbuilt in my area and rent prices are going to collapse, but that's my local market. The construction boom here is real. Well, I mean, yeah, it's going to be hyper local. Absolutely. I wish they built this new multifamily where I live. I'm not talking like big multifamily. I'm talking like small multifamily, like 2, 3, 4 units. Not because you can buy those with FHA, but you can't buy a 5 unit with FHA. Wilmington, North Carolina. Sure. Elevator. The Vader. Cool. Wilmington, huh? They got a lot of metros in North Carolina to look at. Where is it? I don't know my market here. There we go. Wilmington, North Carolina. They say home prices are going to go 2.6% up over the next 12 months. Not sure if that's true, but we'll definitely see. Let's look at what they've done. Up 7.5% in home prices since 2022. Year over year, though, Wilmington is down 0.5%. 2-year change, 2.3. 3-year change, 8.1. Go to that 6-year change, 60%. So it's about 10% a year right now anyway. But it looks like home prices are starting to soften. I mean, you can just see the growth has decelerated. I mean, the evidence is there. Now let's look at inventory and see what's going on. Inventory of homes for sale. Up 2.7% since the pandemic. Year over year, up 28, almost 29%. You had 4,200 homes for sale in 2017. Now you've got 3,800 homes for sale. So you're building inventory. And you can clearly see it was dropping, and then rising, and rising. I would say if you can continue to see more and more homes on the market, inventory continuing to rise, and your prices are already starting to come down, I would think the prices are going to soften. I would think you're going to continue to see that if more inventory builds. Yep, no doubt. Huh. Kind of a textbook case of pre-pandemic versus now. Thank you for suggesting Wilmington, North Carolina. Oh, you have a hard time, McConaughey, hard time finding cancellation at a granular level. Yeah, very hard to find. You can find it through an MLS. Check, I can't do it right now, but check realtor.com. I think they have a dashboard with cancellation rates, or it could be delisted homes. I can't remember which one. Is there a way I can search for low time rates in a specific area? Low time rates. I don't know what that means. Like low interest rates for a specific area? Is that what you mean? Oh, low crime rates. Yeah. So it depends. You said a specific area. What I do is I often will just Google that area, crime rates. And there are a lot of paid sites out there, Modus. The other thing I do is call the local police station or local sheriff's office and ask them. Sometimes they'll provide that data for you. Also, you can find it sometimes on a news like 10 TV in Columbus. I think they have access to it as well. But a lot of times I'll call the police station and just ask them. And they'll tell you. Yeah, they dropped a bunch of good metrics. So did Redfin. I'm told they're going to bring a lot of metrics back because they used to have cancellation rates. They had price cuts on Redfin. They had delisted homes on Redfin, and they got rid of all of it. I was told the data, they couldn't trust the data. They were like, well, we want to get rid of that. So they did. 8 watching that didn't hit the like button. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it, man. It's all good. It's all good. Check out Redfin's Reno since family median year-over-year price. We were up 1.8% in July, and as of August, we're down 8%, almost a 10% swing in 1 month. Okay, I'll put that down for when I look at Redfin data later this week. All right. Well, my legs are tired from standing the whole time. I don't think they should be, but they are. So you guys have been fantastic. Great interaction, great questions. Even if we don't agree on things, I think that it's good to get different perspectives. And it's good for me to remember that there are people all throughout the country that are running into all kinds of goofy situations and seeing everything else in their market that I'm not seeing in mine. So hopefully that gives me some perspective. It gives you some perspective. And again, I don't care. Like, it doesn't it really doesn't matter to me if you particularly buy a house or sell your house. I know people think, "Oh, I'm a realtor, I'm always going to cheerlead the market." It doesn't matter. It really honestly doesn't matter. If the market declines significantly, I will take advantage of that. If the market doesn't decline significantly, I'll take advantage of that. And I'll continue to help people buy and sell houses in whatever market we're in. I just play the hand I'm dealt. So I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your attention. This was a long one, but I think we went through a lot of good markets. Hopefully I'll do more lives coming up. And I am gonna do a Redfin update, maybe even live this week once the new data is released from Redfin. So, all right, make it a good day. I'm the Housing Nerd, and I am out. OUT out. Thanks so much, everybody.